Now, well, in our first segment, we continue the interview series with APC Flagbearer Aspirants. Recently, we interviewed lawyer Ademakoli, lawyer Usman Timbo, on the plans for the Flagbearer race. In this edition, we have Dr. Kaifala Marah, former Minister of Finance under former President and Aspirant's government. He's here to talk about his plans for the Flagbearer race, his comments on governance, tripartite committee reports, democracy, and the economy, among many other things. Good morning, Dr. Marah. How have you been?
Thank you so very much for having me. Thank you.
Good morning.
Before we delve into everything, I see you have been moving around a lot. How has that been for you?
Well, it is what it is. It's part of the process. Reaching out to communities, the grassroots, ensuring that I continue to make my bid relevant, and I think it's been brilliant. Yeah.
So we're here to talk about a range of things, looking at democracy, the tripartite, looking at the economy, and the current state of the country, and also your intentions. But Dr. Marah, you once served as the Minister of Finance from 2013 to 2016 under former President and Aspirant's government. Looking back, what would you say is the most impactful policy intervention, and how do you intend to build on that particular legacy?
Well, our key legacy, and that is the All People's Congress under Ernest Bai Koroma, former president, was that we handled the economy before it was decimated by Ebola in a brilliant way. And we're on record to have been one of the fastest growing economies in the world. Ebola decimated that. We worked very hard to enrail it. And I say that is a resounding legacy. And if it is, we're given the opportunity, we'll turn around the current mess we're confronted with and put the economy on a very, very sound footing for the good of all Sierra Leoneans. That is what I really am looking forward to as an aspirant.
I'm really happy that you touched on the Ebola crisis. Now, under your tenure, Sierra Leone's economy, if you agree with me, as you know, a lot of Sierra Leoneans have been discoursing around that under your tenure, Sierra Leone's economy faced quite a numerous amount of challenges. Now, especially with the twin shocks of the Ebola and the drop in iron ore price. Now, critics say your fiscal policies fail to create sufficient economic buffers. What would you say to that?
Well, all the reason why you should commend me, because as Minister of Finance, I put the economy at a cruise level, and we became one of the fastest growing in the world. We created fiscal space. We reduced debt burden on the economy. We paid salaries at brilliant levels. We started paying categories in society that weren't receiving salaries. What a brilliant show of stewardship. And like you just mentioned, those were undermined by the twin shocks, Ebola and falling iron ore prices. Those weren't our fault. Those were external forces. But the reality is, even when the economy was decimated from 20.8% to -6, under 6%, in less than a year, we enrailed it to a positive 6.3%. And that is why Sierra Leoneans trust me. And that is why I will say that I'm a crisis manager. So that was a crisis, and I managed it well. Today, you and several viewers agree that we're under tremendous pressure. The economy is wobbling. So give me the opportunity as president this time to fix it. Thank you.
Dr. Marah, you've served in various capacities in governance, seem extremely moderate, and as a result of same, many do consider you as one of the most highly underrated in terms of his niche in governance. Take us through your strength in understanding of governance issues in country.
You know, in politics, people will always go the other way. But the reality, like I mentioned just now, is Sierra Leoneans across the board have considerable trust and confidence in my leadership capacities. The reality is I served as the first chief of staff in this country. Today, this government refers to it as chief minister, and we did well, right? Like I mentioned before on Thursday, we were able to track 862 projects, and we made significant progress. I supported President Nkrumah. That was where I received my mentorship. And we are successful in agriculture, we are successful in energy, we roll out the free healthcare initiative, and we brought forward to the good of Sierra Leoneans many brilliant initiatives. That doesn't come easily. And why did I serve as Minister of Finance and was able to put the economy at a cruise level before it was decimated? That is an accolade that every Sierra Leonean observes and considers to be good. And I served as governor of the central bank and became the foreign face of this country as Minister of Foreign Affairs. So just think about it. Did it just happen by chance? No. I must have demonstrated skills, and I must have been a very good performing individual to have been given those responsibilities, to have been entrusted to responsibilities that are key and central to governance. And the truth is, and you and I know, that people acknowledge this. Why will you have the Keke boys in Freetown across border carrying stickers of Dr. Marah saying, Dr. Marah Keke Party? They believe in me. Why will the Okadas do so? Why do you think young people down in the south in Bo will come out drunk in the streets in their numbers, countless numbers, celebrating Kaifala Marah, associating themselves with me? Why is it happening in Kenema? I'm not referring to Kabbalah or Falaba or Kono or Freetown. I'm referring to down deep in the south, areas that are the strongholds of government. It is a recognition of the brilliant job that I have done. And that is why I continue to be a front runner in this race.
We'll have to navigate through your role in Bintimani 3, the elections, results that were contested by members within the APC party, including yourself, and democracy.
Absolutely.
But again, before we talk on same, how well structured and prepared are you running for not just the flag bearership of the APC, but the presidency of this country?
Well, I think a year or so, I shared with you here in this studio my vision. And I'm clear. Hardly will you come across someone in this country running for president that could put together a plan as profound as I did. And I did share with you my green, white, and blue economy strategy. And at Bintimani, I shared with you the enablers. So I have a very clear strategy as to how to move the country. And I've never minced my words. We need change, and I represent that change. And I've demonstrated that every day and always. So that is preparedness for the presidency, because I have a clear vision. Now, running for the flag bearer thing, I think one of the things I mentioned on Thursday, I think on the 10th, was that, hey, we have to take a look at the current democratic climate, elections preparedness. Because don't forget, people haven't forgotten about the 2023 elections. We had problems around those elections. And I led the process representing my party on the tripartite committee. And I did say on Thursday that we should be serious about that. We need to protect the vote of our people, of the electorate of this country, not just people of the APC, members of the APC, but the public, the rest of the electorate. And the position I took was clear. Protecting the vote of the people begins now. It starts now. And also with the implementation of the tripartite committee recommendations, which I have problems with. And I think this is an appropriate platform to have conversations around some of those concerns that I have.
You sit, quickly, you sit very integral in that committee. The fact
Absolutely.
is you are
I was
co-chair,
Yes.
and which speaks volume of the authority, the authority and command you hold in that committee. Yeah. What do you consider some of the bottlenecks that you think the APC is still dissatisfied with in terms of the implementation of those recommendations?
Well, I think immediately after we submitted the report, it was 100 days or so later that we had a team of moral guarantors in the country, and they came to our party office and we raised concerns. A, the composition or configuration of the implementation committee is wrong, it's skewed in favor of government. It should be even. There should be equal representation. But that isn't the case. And we have problems with that. Fundamental problems with that. And those fundamental problems should be addressed. Like I said, protecting the votes of people starts now. And there are other elements or recommendations in that report, in my view, and in the view of several Sierra Leoneans, as well as members of the All People's Congress, that are going wrong. We believe that those recommendations have not been handled well, including the process. And I do hope that we can have that conversation this morning.
We shall definitely touch on those areas, but let's talk about the APC party itself, excuse me, one of which you are a member of. Now, the APC party has faced internal criticism for lack of internal democracy and transparency. I mean, if chosen as the flag bearer for the party, what reforms would you bring or would you intend to bring, you know, in order to restore public trust and intra-party unity?
Well, my track record in government shows how disciplined I could be and doing the right things always, I believe. I'm a pro-democracy person, and I think what we'll do is to reform the party. But what I will say at this point is the leadership of the party is doing well. They really are. The commitment of the leadership is to create a level playing field. And the IEMC responsible for internal elections is doing its job. And so are the rest of the leadership, including the Secretary General. So they're doing a marvelous job in terms of creating that enabling environment for internal democracy to, to thrive. So we continue to trust that process. So what I can do when elected flag bearer and leader of the party is to build on that brilliant legacy that they will have left. And I think we can only continue to transform the party into becoming a very strong democratic party that people and members can trust.
During my earlier submission, before I introduced your presence in the studio, I did mention a couple of names. Names like lawyer Adi Macaulay, lawyer Usman Timbo, and quite a few. We even had the mayor here, Ivanaki Sawyer, her worship. You're contesting against political heavyweights within the APC, some of whom many may say they have the support of the grassroots and also the party machinery. What gives you the edge over those people that I've mentioned?
Well, first and foremost, my experience in government to a very large extent is great. And people acknowledge that. If I want to, I will say yourself and many others. And that is one. And second, I have worked in institutions across the country that defines transformation, that clearly dictate how governance and how government should run. I have served as Chief of Staff to the President, providing oversight across government. That is applause. It doesn't come every day. It takes someone, you should have had the merit to be able to serve in that capacity. And I've handled the economy before, in good times as well as in bad times. And the records are there. I've also served on the other side of the economy. That is governing the central bank. It doesn't come every day. These are accolades. And I've served as the face of this country as Minister of Foreign Affairs. I've also served as chair of the G7 Plus. That is association of 20 ministers of finance across the world. I've also worked with the Commonwealth Secretary and many institutions. These days is there. So Sierra Leoneans, including the All People's Congress, are assured and do recognize that if given the opportunity, I can and will, and that this particular experience, honestly, in a very humble way, I would say, is unmatched.
Quickly before Koroma comes in, you did mention that, you know, a year or so, I think in 2024, I was the one who had that interviewed with you whilst you presented your manifesto here, live on AYV. Now, looking back at it, what measurable progress would you say you've made in translating those ideas into community impact, particularly in the regions you visited? Because like I mentioned earlier, I've been seeing you moving around a lot.
Well, I'm a grassroots man. And so what I've been doing is reaching out to the grassroots. I've been visiting communities across the country. And I think that's the way to go. The reason why I've been doing so is not to just continue to work with people or meet with them so they know me better, but to be able to scan the economic environment of the country and see what is it we can do over and beyond what I had prepared for. And so it is working. I'm sure you're referring to me going to the slums, yes, and having a meal with them. It's the right thing to do. You know, you feel, and you experience along with people their day-to-day activities. If it is, you reach out to them. So I've been to the slums. I know what life is. I know what the level of deprivation is. And so listening to their stories daily, engaging them every now and then, helped me to understand what is it that could be done for them.
Is that not politically motivated? I mean, the move that you're doing at the moment, like meeting all these young people, you know, in slum communities and women across, you know, the regions and stuff like that. One will say that's something they have been saying quite a few from politicians. Is that not because you intend to vie for the highest, you know, position?
Sorry, no. Okay. This is ingrained in me. It's natural. I've been doing this even before politics. I've been opening up roads in my communities even before, you know, I became an official in government. It is me. I was a youth leader, and for example, as student of Kono Student Union, we mounted the biggest humanitarian campaign in Kono district. That was before politics. I did a lot in Kono. We constructed roads. We opened up communities. I worked with women. I worked with youth. In fact, I was both Kono Student Union National President as well as Youth Club. And by the way, I used to write plays. I used to direct plays. And I used to work with communities. I worked with widows. And I provided support for communities, not just for Ramadan, but trust me, I've been working with widows, and I've been doing this before politics. Excuse me. So it is politically motivated. I think it is an add-on of what naturally is embedded in me. And so it's a natural intuition. But politics is interesting. So if you want to run for president, I think it behoves you to reach out to the relevant communities, feel what they do, talk with them, and engage them in their daily activities.
Dr. Marah, you're on record to have said the country's economy is in a bad shape. Where do you think this government got it wrong, and what do you think are the immediate measures to take at this moment to ensure, if not stability, but for things to get better a bit?
You know, running for president is one thing, but how you go about it is quite another. You continue to show that you are a patriot and that you are open and you can be frank and that you can create an environment where people will have honest and open and frank conversations. That was why we had the Bintu Mani. That was why, you know, I decided to provide that platform to encourage and bring all professionals across the board to have a conversation like that. And I was very clear that one of the biggest challenges has to do with unconscionable spending. Spending is loose, so government spend more than it earns. And I ruled out all of that. And I was very clear that one of the ways we will be able to address this is through fiscal rationalization. And I shared with them my experiences, how we're able to get it right. Not every politician will do that. A politician will criticize a government, but may not necessarily proffer solutions. That was what I did. I'm a patriot. I love my country. And I've been there before as Minister of Finance. So I believe that it really is incumbent on me for God and country to come out and say, well, if this is going wrong, and I'm not just saying this, every Sierra Leonean is a witness to this, that things are bad, the economy is wobbling, prices are high, electricity is low, and things aren't working the way Sierra Leoneans anticipated things. And so, yes, I'm running for president, but I needed to explain that. And going beyond fiscal rationalization, I even proffered solutions to say, well, establish a cut waste panel. And I also advised Mr. President to not only support them, but to review travel policy in government. And say, look, take a look at the port. Concessions are killing revenue stream. And there is a lot that government can do. And what I did was to lay everything out, lay it bare to all of you. And you are all there, I suppose, and you witnessed what I did. That is the kind of politics I'm looking forward to, an inclusive politics, a conversational politics, an open politics, where not just politicians will have a conversation around policy, but the rest of the public will participate so that informed decisions could be made. So government will not only land in cabinet, ideas pulled together, or in parliament, discuss issues, but I think it really is important to listen to the opposition. And what I did here is not just to say this is wrong, but providing solutions.
Do you consider President Bio or his government as a listening government?
Bio's government doesn't listen. President Bio's government doesn't listen. And I think it really is important for him to do so. I recall once upon a time he said that when someone sits at State House, definitely they sit in a bubble. And he said so when he was in the opposition. That was when we are preparing for the Sierra Leone conference. He said a leader must listen to the people. But now he sits in the bubble. And he should get that bubble, he should get himself out of that bubble and look outside and try and understand what people feel and what people are saying. Honestly, President Bio should and must, in my view, review his travel policy. Nobody can or stop him. He has the executive powers to do so. But trust me, posterity will always come back to say, but he did so and this wasn't right. I say so with an open and clear conscience that honestly that has to happen, because the challenge is, as I mentioned, it opens a floodgate of travels. People travel every now and then for flimsy reasons, and it's eating up economy. It's taking a toll on the treasury. And by the way, no matter how structures and systems might work in his absence, there are so many actions that will have to wait until the president returns. That slows down implementation. And if you take a look at the way things are happening in the country, trust me, a leader will say, look, let me limit my travel. Because when the president travels, people will and can do anything. People might leave Freetown, some ministers might leave Freetown Friday morning and can only come back on Tuesday. And they'll have any and every excuse as to why they will not be on seats to do their job. So I think, honestly, President Bio should listen. Listen to the opposition. Listen to some of the genuine advice we're making now. Because once upon a time he said that when a man sits at State House, in quotes, he's living in a bubble.
You mentioned the energy sector, and as an economist, I suppose you will agree with me that agriculture, they say, is the engine for economic growth, as many countries across the world have demonstrated the same. The president, in his big 5 game changers, agriculture sits at the top. But so far, would you say it has, or it seems to be yielding the required dividend 2 years in his second term in office?
You know, in the world of politics, we always say what we want to say to score political points. But my politics is a bit different. I give a pat on the back when it really is time to do so, like I did that day. I'll commend them for taking agriculture the manner in which they have set out to do. I'll only wish that they continue to build on that and ensure that they succeed. But I want to say this morning. We've had these conversations before on energy, on the economy. But this morning, I think the drive should be our democracy.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I really want us to discuss that. Because like I said, 2028 begins now.
Yeah.
And I think it is important to have a conversation around that on the implementation of the tripartite committee recommendations, which I believe are lagging behind and honestly being skewed in favor of government. And I think it's not helping the situation. We should have honest conversation around that.
On that note, Dr. Marah, what would you speak to or say about the current state of affairs of the country looking at democracy?
Well, it's not working well. There is state capture of all the institutions. The judiciary, like I mentioned, has been compromised. The law enforcement agency is compromised. The elections management body is compromised. And that is why I believe we need to have this conversation. Let us not sleepwalk into violence in 2028. Government have to listen. Government have to do the right thing. Government has to do that. Right? Implementation of the tripartite committee report is key and central to that. So if you have a committee, on the tripartite committee we had equal representation. Why would we not have the same equal representation in the process of implementing it? That's one. Second, if we are to implement these 80 recommendations plus 4, why will we not have appropriate and critical timelines and ensure that jointly we report to the public? You recall when the tripartite committee commenced its activities, when we came out with our terms of reference, we held a joint press conference at Brookfields Hotel. The same should happen in the process of implementing the tripartite committee recommendations. So I give you examples. Where are we on recommendation 20? Recommendation 20 says there should be a special standing committee in Parliament that will provide oversight on all electoral issues in the country. That has not been established 1 year on. And you ask yourself why? So will the ECSL and other elections management body continue doing things business as usual? Will that serve the purpose and spirit of our democracy? No, it doesn't. It doesn't help. And I give you another one. I think recommendation 36. And by the way, I heard that the Chief Electoral Commissioner is on his way out.
Yes, exactly.
Correct. So we made our recommendation about a year ago. And we said that certain sections of the Constitution should be reviewed, including the Public Elections Act, to be able to establish a group of individuals, I think 9, drawn from all walks of life, to have the responsibility to head on, to draw up job description, to advertise, to interview an array of Sierra Leoneans, and then come up with a short list, and present it to the president to make a decision. So if Mr. Kone is going out in July, and that committee has not been set up, what will you think the president is up to? Is that good democracy? No, it's not. It's undermining our democracy. It's undermining the process of elections preparedness for 2028. I give you another example. He didn't do that. Government didn't use that. They didn't make use of the committee that we advise should have been set up to handle this. So recently, Mr. President has appointed someone to serve as commissioner for the East. Is that right? That flies against the spirit of the tripartite committee recommendations. It shouldn't happen. And the rest of Sierra Leone shouldn't just sit and observe.
Was the APC consulted?
The APC wasn't consulted. We were only informed. And that was in the process. That was advised, and that was recommended by a committee that Mr. President made a commitment to support.
Dr. Marah, still with the issue of democracy, I mean, the APC seem to have been expressing a range of concerns and dissatisfaction around a lot of things. Quite recently, one which has to do with the transitioning of Lungi to a new city and also the 2 districts. What would you speak to that?
That is part of the problem. And it really has to be addressed. I agree. But like I said, what I really want us to discuss, and I'm saying this for the good of the country, we know creating new districts has been challenged. The mayor came out strongly against that. And so as the party, I'm aware of that and will continue to push that. But what is of essence right now is Kone is on his way out.
But Dr. Marah, of the 80 recommendations in the tripartite reports, many of them, all of them are fine recommendations, which hinges towards ensuring that Sierra Leone has a democracy everyone will be proud of. But have you taken into cognizance the fact that these recommendations are not justiciable? There is nowhere that you'll see if whosoever fails to ensure it comes to fusion, you can't take anyone to court for not having these recommendations implemented. Are you worried about it?
It goes beyond worries. You know, in a country such as ours, that is small, endowed with so many resources, and where the economy is wobbling, and we're all the same people. And you're at the helm of affairs, and you're aware that things went wrong in 2023. I'm not wishing for honest leadership here. I'm looking forward to a leadership that will look at the reality and do that which is right. In a democracy such as ours, no one stays on top for so long. Things change. Life changes. And what we need to do is to save the country. People are hurt. People are bitter. 2023 wasn't right. Now, if we've come up with recommendations to say, let us heal, and the healing process has to do with the manner in which we implement the tripartite committee recommendations. So you have to be open, you have to be inclusive. But if you let things loose and do things the way you want them to go, what do you think will be the outcome of it? It's a recipe for what? For celebrations? No. Now reach a point where I will say, no, we won't budge from this point, we won't move. Because it wasn't by accident, but it was a deliberate ploy that you delayed, that you manipulated, and that is why we are where we are. We'll arrive at that point. Do you want that? The economy is wobbling. You think serious-minded investors or businesses will come to this country when things are the way they are, when democracy is wobbling, when the judiciary is stifled? No way. And that is what brings me to honest leadership. Even if we don't want to be honest about it, we have to be true and real and look at what the people want. We took an oath in the beginning, and we made commitments to the people of this country. And we are aware that the only way to take our country out of this quagmire is to be inclusive and to be open. And if you do not do that, what do you expect to happen at the end of the day? Someone gonna go to court, and then you stifle the judiciary, and the right thing didn't happen. So what will you expect after that? So my advice here, and the candid opinion, is we have to be true to the spirit of our democracy. Because if we fail to, things will continue to build up, and then build up, and then build up. And you reach a point where I will say, no, we won't move from this point. So it shouldn't be the business of the international community every now and then to come in. I think we should be collaborative enough. We should be consensuous enough to come together and say, no, let's just address this. So yes, let me round up. Yes, I will say that someone gonna go to court, definitely. Someone will have to go to court. It could be a member of the party. It could be the party itself. But then you go to court and nothing happens. Well, it's on record. But the reality is we'll arrive at a point where we'll not move. And that is when we'll sleepwalk into violence. These things must be discussed. And I'm saying this, and let me be on record, that it is the responsibility of the moral guarantors to also look at this squarely. And let me tell you what is good about this. President Bio is chairing ECOWAS now. And this is happening under his watch, under his belt. And he's responsible for this. Is that the leadership we ask for as chair of ECOWAS? Should it happen that way? No. It shouldn't. He's father of ECOWAS now. He should lead by example. He should open up. He should be inclusive. He should consult. He should do that which is required of him. Because these were the very words he stood for. These were the very situations he said he will go out there for God and country to fix things. Why can he not do it now? He should. Thank you.
I remember even before the setting up of the tripartite committee, there were hue and cry from, say, particularly so supporters of the main opposition, now APC, with regards what they consider, and you yourself consider, stealing of the votes of the people. But again, at some point in time, members within the APC, they consider yourself, Dr. Samora, and others who were part of that committee as sellouts, which has landed them in this situation. What would you say to Sam?
No. When people are frustrated, they will say any and everything. And that is the way the public space is. But we did the right thing. The report was there. Big Brother Samora himself appended his signature to it and presented it at State House. And at the end of the day, he says we did a brilliant job. And it was a brilliant job we did. And why do you think I'm clamoring now for the implementation of those recommendations? Because the recommendations are brilliant, and those recommendations are what it will take to give us brilliant, free, good, and fair elections in 2028.
Quickly, before we take some messages,
we've had
tons of messages, and want to give our audience the privilege, to be able to ask, their questions. But quickly before that, for people who consider you to be too technocrats and not politically grounded, enough to manage the rigors, that the political landscape in Sierra Leone portrays, what would you say to that?
Well, I've been at the forefront of these things. I've been Chief of Staff, I've been Minister of Finance, I've been Minister of Foreign Affairs, I led the tripartite committee recommendations. I'm a crowd puller. People are attracted to me. I'm a friend of the kekes. I'm a friend of the okadas. So what do you make of that? Someone, some way has to come after you because he has his own interest. And what they will do is place a label on you. But you and I know that Kaifala Marah is a force to reckon with. And I know what I know. And I've been doing that which is good for the spirit of this country. And that makes me the man that can take this country forward. And that's the fact. And people are aware of that. People say so in Kailaun, people say so in Galubagbe, people say so in Mongre, people say so in Bab, people say so everywhere across the country. I can go on and on and on, and that's the fact.
I'm sure the move or the campaign that you've been making have somehow been very effective. I say so simply because you've been able to capture our audience this morning with the messages they've been sending via our Facebook page. Kurma.
Sure. First of all, mine is from Thomas Rogers, who says this is nothing new. Our politicians always come to the media with sweet promises when they want power, but once they get elected, it becomes nearly impossible to see them or have this kind of conversation again. But out of empty words, what we need is a leader who truly has the people's interest at heart.
And this is from, we'll definitely give you time to respond to them. This is from Fode Sanamara, and he says, please ask Dr. Marah if he becomes president of Sierra Leone, what are his plans for Sierra Leone's immigration department?
Continue.
And Abubakar Fafana said, the wait for honest, trustworthy, discipline and experienced leadership in the APC for Flagbearer is over. We have found Dr. Kaifala Marah and we trust him to lead the APC as presidential candidate and president of Sierra Leone 2028.
Salifu Kamara says, AYV, I see some level of honesty and straightforwardness in Dr. Kaifala Marah. My question is, I want him to help us. How is his policy differ from this current government?
And another one is from Hassan. He's asking or saying that Dr. Kaifala Marah is the president Sierra Leoneans want to see in 2028 in order to fix our economy. As it stands, only him can do that. We trust him. We are sick and tired with the current government.
Good. Chi Guvara says Dr. Marah is the most honest and trustworthy politician in Sierra Leone. He's also the most ready and formidable politician. The man is very ready, composed and hardworking and honest. Sierra Leone needs Dr. Marah.
And Rugiato Megasise is asking, what's your thoughts around agriculture?
Marah Kaifala says, AYV, please ask Dr. Marah if he becomes president, what he can do for the women and girls. And
AYV, this is from Salifu, and he says, AYV, this question is coming from Salifu, mile 91. We want Dr. Marah to explain to us how he managed the Sierra Leone economy to be the fastest growing economy in 2013, and what are the policies he introduced that was different from his predecessor, Samara Kamara.
Mark 10 says, I hope the tripartite secretariat are aware of the seriousness of the work ahead. I suggest the secretariat develop and finalize the tools that will guide the national consultations. Ultimately, it is the people of Sierra Leone who will decide what electoral system will be used.
And this is from Adrian Benson. He says, given your vast experience in economic growth, how would your economic policies differ from the current SLPP administration? Specifically, would your approach make it easier and cheaper to import goods and vehicles into Sierra Leone by cutting down on the bureaucratic red tape?
Adrian Benson Toure Jr. says, given your vast experience in economic growth, how would your economic policies differ from... This one from Abu Marah says, when Dr. Kaifala Marah was at the Commonwealth, he personally bought machines to construct over 72 kilometers of feeder roads in Koinadugu and Falaba districts. He is second to none in the APC party.
And Sise Ibrahim says APC 2026 National Convention will determine the future of Sierra Leone and the future of the mighty APC party. Please, delegates, go and vote for the development of our nation, Mama Salon, without no tribal politics.
This one says, Conte Sheku says, I suppose he was responding to someone, he says he's the co-chair only to put the realities on the table. Can't you see him complaining about it? He has no other power than to recommend implementing it should be done by the government. And
Aya Maturi said Marah was groomed by the APC godfather in Kono, Pa FD Kono Mani of blessed memory.
It also says Marah is the real unifier of these nations.
Parents, go ahead.
Parents migrated from Koinadugu, Falaba to Kono, grown and schooled in Kono, wife from Moyamba district.
And Samuel Lewis is saying the issue of drugs in the country has become alarming due to the fact that certain big guns are involved in the thriving business, which is killing and shattering the dreams and ambitions of many young people, while also disrupting our image internationally. If given the opportunity by we, the electorate, what appropriate measure would you take to tackle the societal tragedy and give a chance to the victims to be reinstated back to civilized society?
Abubakar Fofana says the wait for honest, trustworthy, disciplined and experienced leadership in the APC for Flagbearer is over. We've found Dr. Kaifala Marah and we trust him to lead the APC as presidential candidate and president of Sierra Leone 2028.
I will just take a few more. This is from Edwina John, and she says, during the Ebola crisis 2014-2016, there were widely publicized reports of mismanagement or misuse of Ebola funds, including by the Auditor General. Although Marah was not personally indicted, he was a finance minister at that time and bore institutional responsibility. Perception of weak accountability during this national crisis remains a stain on his record.
Of course, this one, Jesus says, few of the kind I personally admire in the APC presidential race. But unfortunately, your very APC party will not like your modesty because they believe in a leader who stands and fights.
Two more messages from me because we have loads of messages. And this is from Konani Blog TV. Mr. Marah, if you're given the opportunity to become a president of the Republic of Sierra Leone, what will you do to end tribalism in Sierra Leone? And also, we used to say laws in Sierra Leone is just for a month or two. We forget about it. And last one, about entertainment. What can you do to ensure that any entertainer will reap from his or her talent? Because the only thing that Sierra Leonean celebrities benefit from I'll just
for the story, Marah says, irrespective of the same tribe or surname, I believe he can take us through the 2028 elections without runoff. And finally, for mine, is from Kabo Kaifala Fode, who says, my question to you, sir, Dr. Kaifala Marah, how is the relationship between you and the Keke party and the Okada party in the country? I think those are the messages.
Rice Kamara. My question to Dr. Marah, if you become the flag bearer for the elections, will you prioritize female as your running mate? And
Rugiatu Sise says, please ask Dr. Marah if he is familiar with the villages around the country. We've had a lot of messages.
We have lots of messages, yeah.
These are the ones time permits us to take.
Please, you may respond to them, sir.
Yeah. Well, should I?
Yes, please go ahead.
Well, first and foremost, I like the reviews, and I would say a majority of them are positive, and it speaks to one fact, like I mentioned earlier, is that Sierra Leoneans have faith and confidence in me, and I want to say that it gives me the courage to continue to believe that I'm headed in the right direction. And so I want to say thank you to them and to all the viewers. Now, yes, to some of the questions, yes, I'm familiar with many villages across the country. And so I just mentioned some of them in my conversation with you as to what I've been doing in terms of reaching out to communities. And someone asked about female running mate. I am a Democrat, and our constitution, that is the APC constitution, stipulates that immediately a flag bearer is elected, he or she will have to sit down with the leadership of the party, hold a honest and frank conversation, and then agree on who will be the running mate. Now, there are several elements to this. You will have regional considerations, you'll have gender considerations, you'll have ethnic or tribal considerations, right? And you'll have religious considerations. But I have worked with women across the board, and they do deliver results, and I have immense respect for them. Now, I haven't settled on who will be my running mate going forward, but I'm not averse to having, a woman vice president at all. I'm not averse to it. But I think it is too early right now to have a conversation on that, because I wouldn't want to flout the Constitution or to run against it. So that is it. So yes, I like working with women. And by the way, I have 3 daughters and a son. And so I'm pro-girl and pro-women. So that is what I will say for now. And so people out there shouldn't be averse that, Marah will not, Marah will not be endeared to having, a woman vice president. Yes, if that is what the party will decide, I will and I can. And I have no problems with that. Now, someone made mention of Ebola funds. Brilliant. Look at it this way. Sometimes you look at the flip side of things. We had Corona here. Did we have real-time audit? No. Did we? No, we never had one. And under President Ernest Bai Koroma, in the middle of the Ebola crisis, he commissioned a real-time audit on the way we're spending money. Isn't that something we should celebrate? Yes, it should be celebrated, because it is the highest level of transparency and accountability. You're saying I'm in the middle of a crisis. And come and take a look at how we're doing things. I think Sierra Leoneans should celebrate that. And it's the kind of action that I would wish that administrations after Ernest Bai Koroma will continue to emulate. Yes, I wasn't found wanting. All the more reason this morning you should pin, a congratulatory badge on my shoulders, a peep on my shoulders. So it speaks to who I really am and the reasons why I believe in integrity. And so I have always, worked that way. Now, someone spoke of illicit networks and drug abuse. Yes, I'm aware that the future of this country is being challenged. And I say this way, because 25% of our kids in the country, young people in our country, are experiencing what I refer to as protein deficiency. Second, what the institutions teach at uni is not necessarily what the job market will want. And then we have illicit drugs. Yes, we'll put in place the right measures. Yes, we'll find a way to stifle it. Yes, we'll find a way to control it. So we are not labeled as a narco state. We'll certainly handle those issues, no doubt, because it is what we should do to be able to join the League of Good Nations around the world. My Keke parties, someone made mention of Keke parties. I think I work with them every day. At the Bintumani, they were there. The Okada riders were there. Some of my Attah-based friends were there. And so I continue working with my Keke parties. I like them. And sometimes I use the Keke to go, to drive around the city. It really is good. Well, it shows how grassroots I really am. That doesn't happen every day in our politics. Now, someone made mention of our electoral system, and I really will want to delve into that. And that has to do with recommendation 78 of the Tripartite Committee recommendations. It required that the opposition and government should sit around the table and engage the rest of the public, and engage the kind of electoral system that they will want. That is for the election of parliamentarians as well as councillors. Should it be the PR system that was used in 2023, or should it be our traditional brilliant way of going about it, the first past the post, or the constituency-based election? I think, and I strongly believe, that Sierra Leoneans should be engaged in a broad-based way, not just in silo ways, but that we should have a holistic strategy, government and the opposition, around that. So the opinion of the citizens will be gauged as to the kind of electoral system they will want. Government must stop doing this surreptitious. They must stop doing it in the alleys, behind the scenes. We should face it, sit around the table, and let us have a national conversation, a national engagement on the kind of electoral system we want. So I ask you, both of you, just think about this. This is just rhetorical. So how will you want to be in a community without a member of parliament and without a councillor? It is happening now. So who represents your community in parliament or in councils? None. What does that? The PR system. With a constituency-based election, it doesn't happen that way. Every ward and every constituency will be represented both in local councils as well as in parliament. That is the beauty of it. What we have right now is garbage. It doesn't work. It doesn't help, because you'll have a good number of MPs and councillors from a small community, whilst the vast of society is underrepresented. And we should have an open and frank conversation about this. I keep saying this, and I'll emphasize, and I'll lay emphasis on it this morning. You know what? We should face it. If we want our democracy to thrive, we should do the right things. And that is what I represent. That is what I stand for. And that is what defines me. And that is what Sierra Leoneans know me for. And I will not let this country down on that particular element. So people will have to forgive me. People will have to understand where I'm coming from, that I co-chaired that brilliant initiative. And we did come up with brilliant recommendations. And trust me, I'll continue to raise my voice on those issues. You know what? Let's implement them as recommended. Thank you. The
recommendations that you've laid emphasis on as to its implementation, I think what landed the country into same was as a result of the PR system that we utilize. Wow. I noticed you absolutely detested the PR system. Do you think it's a recipe for chaos if it isn't addressed, even though yes, it is provided for in the Constitution?
It could be a building block into something that all of us might not want. We've had our share of a civil conflict. We've had our share of so many crises, Ebola, Corona. It's sad. The ordinary voter there just want to vote one morning and wish and pray that there will be peace and things will be good going forward. But we're in government. We are politicians. We sit on both sides of the aisle. And if we're aware that we had an understanding to do X, Y, Z in a certain way, let us do it that way. If you fail to do it, you should remember that people are already frustrated. That 2023 didn't end on a very good note. And if we've come together by virtue of goodwill to say we should be able to do X, Y, Z certain way for the spirit, for the peace of our democracy, for the spirit of this country, let us come together and do it that way. If we do not do it that way, trust me, mistrust will build up. And frustrations will build up. And we'll reach a point where I will say, no, we need to move here. No, they go again. No, the international community can sign now. So the right thing is, Mr. President is chair of ECOWAS. And if we want moral guarantors to come,
we have one already.
We have one already. So he should do the needful.
Dr. Marah, you did mention about trust, and it's very much importance as someone who's actually vying for the highest office. Now, there are a lot of misconceptions around politicians. With voter apathy and mistrust, in political class, which is actually growing at the moment, especially among the youth and the diaspora, how do you plan to win over those skeptical constituencies who view all politicians as the same?
No, they don't view all politicians as the same. If you go back to your reviews, a good number of them did say, we have trust and confidence in Dr. Marah.
It's obviously going to happen, but a huge number back, will speak differently.
That is your view.
Exactly so.
What you read had been the view of so many. You spoke only. And all of these people from around the world, including around the country, have just aired their views, and you have a good number of them saying the same. And I will say this.
Just to correct, I don't come from a personal point of view. I speak the views of the ordinary Sierra Leoneans.
I take your point, madam, but it doesn't happen every day that citizens in a country will look at a politician and say, we trust him. It doesn't happen every day. Let us put politics aside and look at the reality of life. People trust me. And when I say so, I will say, go back to the records. The records say so. The record speaks loud. Thank you.
And with that being said, we say thank you so very much,
Thank you.
Dr. Kaifala Marah. We wish you all the best in your political aspirations and endeavors going forward. We had wished to continue the conversation, but as a result of time. We'll have to call it off here, but we'll see ways to have you in our subsequent,
but I'm sure, as
programs.
the election draw closer, we'll definitely have you here again.
Absolutely.
To discuss about,
absolutely.
Yeah, the next time I come here, I think we'll have an interesting conversation on something else.
It's always interesting when we speak.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
And maybe I will have been the flag bearer then.
Most definitely.
Thank you.
We appreciate your time, and we say thank you very much, and we wish you the very best.
We wish you all the best. We wish you all the best.